Yes, Mick and his kettlebells. So can we delve into intermittent fasting? We had a really
Sure.
We touched on it, and Jim, I'll let you go ahead and kind of just tell us what you're doing and how you got into it.
Come around to this?
Now, really quick, he was studying it back in 2000.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? And you only just started doing it?
Yeah, but I've only really started doing it myself because my main concern was muscle mass with the fasting, you know.
Yeah, and that's something I wanted to address because I feel like that's why most gym people won't go and try intermittent fasting because they're scared of it.
I don't think I know one professional bodybuilder who uses intermittent fasting. And when you consider these guys have to maintain, regardless of what they're using to maintain that muscle mass, their eating pattern, there's no way they could maintain it.
It's force feeding more than it's intermittent fasting.
Fasting. You know what I mean? So when you look at it from that standpoint, anybody who's interested in muscle is like, yeah, I don't want to go I don't want to make it through. I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and eat. You know what I mean? I mean,
shake by the bed.
Yeah,
that's the classic.
And I recommend casein protein before bed so that you have, a trickling effect of amino acids through the night. So you're essentially not fasting. So we've been talking about how to stay in a fed state almost, you know what I mean, for anabolic reasons. And so that's really why I avoided doing it personally. I knew the benefits for fat loss, and what the benefits are in the lab is what we've shown is that most people think when you starve, your metabolism slows down, and it does. But that's with long-term, where you're not like refeeding and, or you're dropping carbs long-term. Calories are carbs for a long period. So if you're starving yourself for long, yes, your metabolism is going to stall. If you're fasting and feeding, what happens is during the fasting period, your body produces more of these uncoupling proteins. And what uncoupling proteins are is they basically poke holes in the mitochondria. The mitochondria are our energy factories in muscle cells. That's where fat and carbs get turned into ATP. That's what makes energy. So these uncoupling proteins literally poke holes in the mitochondria and change the concentration gradient. So you produce less energy, more heat. It's like a car engine, right? It produces heat and work, right? The more work it puts out and the less heat, the more efficient it is, right?
This is during the fasting period.
And so during the fasting period, what happens is you put out more heat, less energy, meaning you got to burn more fat and carbs now just to sit here.
Yeah, you become inefficient.
Starting at what are we talking about? Like 8 hours?
It's hard to say. It's more like a chronic, sort of chronic.
Okay, so over time your body just gets accustomed to it.
But what we do find acutely is that the meal that you follow the fast with is important. When the meal was followed, when the fast was followed with a high protein meal, the production of those uncoupling proteins had another bump after the fasting. When it was a high carb meal, the uncoupling proteins were blunted, but they were still maintained higher than someone who's not intermittent fasting.
Just why you eat all these bears?
Lots of
the way I do it
bears.
is that I typically eat at 4 o'clock, and then I train in my feeding window. I train, that way I have more energy, I can recover better, so better performance, better recovery during your feeding window. So at 4 o'clock, my first meal is pro-gym. I have a protein shake. That's it, and then I train. So I train with just protein and pre-gym. I don't have carbs till after the workout's over, which is, a good hour or so. And so on the days where I might train, like let's say I train at 10 p.m. and I break my fast at 4, I'll still have just a protein shake, or it'll be eggs or a steak, it'll in salad or fat. There'll be no carbs.
And it's no calories the rest of the time, or is it just drastically reduced calories?
Prior to 4 o'clock, no calories.
No calories at all?
No, none whatsoever. So that's black coffee. You can drink fluid, water. I typically go with black coffee or unsweetened tea. Once in a while, I might have like a Coke Zero, a Diet Dew, but I don't like to do the artificial sweetener because one of my concerns is that fasting is really a state of the brain, not just a state of the body. And so you're literally tricking your body that you're fasting, right? Well, there's ways to trick your body that you're fed. Leucine, for example. The molecule leucine, the receptor that attaches to, have you ever heard of mTOR? You guys heard of mTOR with leucine, right? And how that whole pathway, that's also involved in the brain. But it's involved to tell the brain that the body is in a fed state, because leucine is the most anabolic amino acid. So if you have plenty of leucine in your blood,
you might as well be fed, basically.
So all these people who do branching amino acids,
which is a lot of people. They say they're intermittent fasting.
They're truly not, truly not fasting, because they're telling their brain you're in a fed state. Now, they're fasting in the fact that they're not really consuming many calories, so they're still getting benefits, but you'll get better benefits if you avoid the leucine. And so one of my theories with the sweeteners, the artificial sweeteners, is, there's some data that shows when the tongue tastes that sweetener, those receptors tell the brain, hey, sugar, right? It tricks the brain. Right. That's what artificial sweeteners do. And in some cases, it's been shown to enhance insulin release, more so in animals but I'm still concerned that that sweet taste is telling the brain, hey, we're getting sugar, even though you're not. So the last thing you want to do is trick your brain into thinking it's in a fed state accidentally, by sipping like a sweet, even though it's no calories, that sweetness might signal the brain, hey, we've got plenty of sugar.
Right.
Meaning we don't have to use ketone bodies any longer. We can switch over, start, increasing glycolysis. Let's change up the fuel sources that we're using.
So speaking of the mental part of it and the brain, you hear people talk a lot about how it feels mentally when they're fasting. They feel like it's almost an enhanced state of clarity.
Yeah, and what's interesting, right, is that at the beginning you go like, oh, I can't think.
Right.
So lethargic. Then about 2 weeks after, you're like, oh my God. Sometimes 4 o'clock rolls around, I have to force myself to eat.
Yeah, you forget. You start to forget.
Well, not even that I forget. I don't want to eat, because when I eat, I feel,
you go back on the blood sugar.
Yeah.
I feel lethargic. So there's a lot of times if 4 o'clock rolls around where I have to force myself to literally eat. And that's why sometimes I like just the protein shake, because it's, it gives me something I feel, but it's not like, but it's weird how you sort of get used to it. And, because I travel and I speak a lot, it might be like I'll have to give like an 8 a.m., opening talk somewhere, right? And I used to think, oh, I'll have breakfast just so I have carbs and I'm sharper when I'm on stage.
I had a piece of fruit right before this podcast.
And then I'm like, I feel like crap. Why did I do that? You know what I mean? I feel better. Now, once you're used to it, if you actually feel better. And it's kind of funny. I can't remember who it was, but somebody was telling me, they're like, oh, can I, I had my guy, I was like post-workout. They weren't even like, it was like a cameraman or something. They're like, can I just have some gummy bears? My blood sugar, I'm getting really shaky. And I'm like, alcoholics get shaky too when they don't have alcohol. And you know how they fix the shakiness? They drink more alcohol.
Right.
The problem isn't that you need carbs. The problem is you're eating too many carbs and that you can't go long enough without them. Like, your body should be able to go a long time without feeling shaky. And if it can't do that, it's due to your diet. Cut down on the carbs. You're so reliant on carbs that you can't even go 2 hours. Are you kidding me? Without a meal? That's not normal.
But we're just ritualizing our behaviors too.
Right.
Exactly.
That's part of you just can't even imagine morning without French toast.
It's been 2 hours. I need some gummy bears. I feel like crap. Like, no, that's the last thing you need.
And we were talking about that earlier, where intermittent fasting, of all the things I've ever tried, and I'm sure you've experienced this with your clients, it's one thing that can actually eliminate that dependency, that addiction, whatever you want to call it.
The research shows it actually enhances insulin sensitivity. I mean, the research on intermittent fasting is the health. I'm talking about the health benefits. Insulin sensitivity, better immune function. It fights jet lag. Do you know it fights jet lag?
I did not know that.
I wish I'd known that 2 years ago.
Well, do you know why? So usually we have our 24-hour clock, right? So here in Boise, right? You're on, what is this, mountain time, right? So if you traveled, let's say you're in LA, it's Pacific time, and you travel to New York, which is Eastern time. So now, when the clock is claiming it's 6 o'clock and it's starting to get dark, your body's like, hang on, why is it getting dark now? We've got 3 more hours, and then the next day it does. And eventually your body finally goes, oh, okay, I'm 3 hours faster, and catches up. Takes about a week or so, right? Well, another cue we use is feeding cues, because we're, animals of habit. So, right, if you typically eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, reasonably same time, those are cues that you use throughout your day. When you fast, you erase that food cue. It's almost like erasing the light cue, if you could do that, which we really can't. But it erases the food cue if you fast for at least 16 hours. Then if you have your first meal at the normal time, like LA, 4 p.m. When I'm in New York, I fast for at least 16 hours, and I don't eat till 4 p.m. New York time. I eat that Pro Gym shake, my body goes, 4 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So it's an extra little cue that fast forwards your body's adjustment to the new time zone.
It gives you control too.
And trust me, when I travel, it's not like, I have to travel and then, hi, let's work out at 8 a.m. Yeah, I've been on a plane for 20 hours, but
so
I don't know where I am or what time zone I'm in, but I feel great.
But I'm ready to go.
Seriously, it makes a huge,
So it sounds like you are a 7 days a week faster, right? Do you think that is the best approach for somebody to follow? Because there are 5-2, there's every other day.
I did the
I
5
really
and 2.
So I do the 16-8, which is basically I fast for 16 hours every day till 4 p.m. and then I eat for 8 hours.
Continually.
Yeah, well, no,
You eat enough in that 8 hours, right?
Yeah, I really don't eat that. I probably only like 3,000 calories.
It really does blunt your cravings.
Yeah.
Like, you do not overeat.
Yeah, your stomach really
it's bizarre.
shrinks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely don't. You'll find that you need far less food. But the 5 to 2 is where you do 2 days out of the week, and you don't want to do those consecutive days.
Yeah,
you want to
do.
do 2 full days. And there's a couple you could do, like where you only do 600 calories. I prefer a full, again, you really want to get the true health benefits, like the immune boost and the help with the jet lag and the insulin sensitivity. You want to do a full fast. You don't want to, 600 calories. You need the fast. You know what I mean? Fast. It's 2 days, 24 hours. And then the other 5 days, you're pretty much loose to, what you can eat. You have no time restrictions. Obviously, you don't want to be eating pizzas all day, but you can be a little looser on those days because of those 2 days that you sort of gave it your all, where you literally ate nothing. And so your reward is now on these other 5 days of the week, I can eat anytime I want and within reason, pretty much what I want.
So have you done a full day or multiple day
I've done
fast
that.
ever?
I've done that too. I don't like that so much because I like the regular 16-8 fasting, and I just think it's better to have that repetition versus 2 days and then full eating whatever you want.
Sure. And one of the first guests that I had on the podcast was this great researcher named Dom D'Agostino, who's done a bunch of work about fasting, and I remember asking him, like, because you fast, do you think that makes you drink more coffee? And he kind of thought about it, and he said, oh, whatever. He drinks a ton of coffee. He laid it out very calmly, but it sounded like this guy drinks like 6 pots of coffee a day.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, right.
But do you find that your caffeine intake increased apace?
No, because I'm a big
You're a caffeine
I'm
guy.
a caffeine opponent. I wouldn't say it increased.
Or then is it central to or essential to the project of
I
fasting?
don't think so. I mean, a lot of times I just drink cold water. I like coffee, so I prefer coffee.
It helps if you like coffee and tea.
And it
probably.
does.
I do want to hammer home the point. You didn't see any change in your muscle mass from going on to an intermittent fast.
So like I said, the reason I never wanted to do intermittent fasting was because of I was worried about the muscle mass loss. But Now, what's interesting is there's new research showing that if you take a lean individual, and this is just using BIA. Well, sorry, BMI.
I was trying to figure out what BIA stood for.
That's how we measure water. Sorry, but we're doing a study. We're doing a study on when I manipulate my water levels.
Jim.
Yeah. So sorry, it's a testing method. But BMI. Okay. Thank you. Body mass index. They looked at lean, overweight, and obese, and fed them a high protein meal. The lean guys, protein synthesis was through the roof compared to both the overweight and the obese. Meaning the leaner you are, the more anabolic you might be. So the old strategy of bulking up and getting fat might actually be working against your muscle mass gains. Staying lean might keep you more anabolic. And to test that theory, what I've been doing is literally using the intermittent fasting to get my body fat down to as low as I can, and then see how my muscle mass responds. And so far, I've actually been gaining small amounts because I'm 49 and natural and pretty much at the peak. It's not like I'm going to gain an inch on my arms, but I could gain if I gain a quarter inch or an eighth of an inch, that's a big deal for me, especially at this. That's pure muscle.
Sure, especially because you got your beginner gains at age 7.
Yeah. So I mean, I am literally gaining now that I'm sort of done trying to drop body fat to some degree. And so now what I'm doing is just maintaining around like 4%. And so what it does is it allows me to play with my protein and the amount of calories while still staying lean, and I'm finding I have no trouble whatsoever with muscle mass. But muscle mass is not my goal. You know what I mean? It's really not my true goal anymore at this age. I'm always trying to obviously get my arms just big. More now, it's more about building more. It's more bodybuilding. Adding more middle dell, adding more. Those sorts of changes.
Really sculpting.
Those, like those, which is still gaining muscle, but it's not like gaining huge amounts of muscle.
So then it has to kind of go hand in hand with that consistent training then as well, definitely.
Yeah, and so, what I do find is that with the intermittent fasting, with the daily training, that you're getting the best of both worlds, fat loss,
you've got it in
muscle
fifth
gains,
gear, and you can just kind of cruise along. Yeah.
And if somebody's curious about intermittent fasting, what should they keep in mind when they're starting this in terms of how to time their workouts? Should they try to get lean first, or should they do this to get lean?
Yeah, that's like I said with that research I was talking about showing that you're more anabolic, leaner.
Right.
I used to say, well, the goal is up to you. Now I kind of tell people, well, you might as well get leaner. You know what I mean? Like all of us probably can use to get leaner. Most of us at least can use.
Yeah, you're at 4%, Jim. I don't know if you can go much further.
But for most people, you probably could be leaner. You know what I mean? Most people's goal, most people probably aren't 6% body fat, right? So most people can always be a little leaner. So now my recommendation is more, what's the point of having muscle if you can't really see it? You know what I mean? Unless you're an athlete, right? If you're a power lifter, a strong man, an athlete, that's fine. But if you really want, if you're just lifting to look better, why would you want to cover muscle with body fat?
Right, and having gone to a couple of powerlifting meets here locally to watch my friend or watching them streaming online, a lot more powerlifters are showing up looking crazy ripped these days too.
Yeah, exactly.
That guy
Really?
used to be a
to
little bit more of a rarity, but now there are a lot more of those sort of guys.
Far
there.
more,
and
yes.
Like Chinese Olympic weightlifters
Leaner,
are crazy lean. A lot of them.
But I feel like the dirty bulk has gone out of vogue a little bit. People are not. They're actually trying to bulk, kind of what you're talking about, without gaining a whole lot of extra body fat. Because really, what's the point? You're going to stress all your systems trying to do that.
And it's never good to be yo-yo dieting.
No.
Anyway. What happens? You store a lot of toxins in your fat.
Right.
And so every time you diet and lose body fat, you release those toxins into your bloodstream.
And that's why you feel like crap when you diet.
Yeah. No, seriously. When you're losing fat, you're releasing those toxins like styrene from styrofoam, which gets stored in fat cells. There's a lot of toxins that get stored in the fat cells. If you just stay lean, you know, you just get lean and stay lean.
You just feel great all the time.
I mean?
We should all be lean.
You know, gaining, losing, again, that's the worst thing you can do, you know, is the yo-yo dieting.
Right.
Even if it's like bodybuilding style, that's not, it's not healthy. Even, you know, I'm trying to work now with a lot of athletes who have to lose weight on convincing them to live at their fighting weight.
Yeah.
Like, then you know what happens? Then you actually get stronger. Because once your body adapts to that weight, it's no longer a stress to maintain it. The only reason you get weaker when you lose weight is because it's a massive stress on the body to lose all that body weight. Once the body has adapted to that body weight and it's easy to maintain, that's your normal homeostasis now. So you'll be, you know, so you're working against yourself by living at 220 and then dropping down to, you know, 198 for your fight.
Right.
And then you wonder why your body goes right back up to 220.
Yeah, and then you wonder why you're so weak during the fight.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Whereas if you lived at 98, your body would be adapted and you'd walk in there like at your strongest form. You know what I mean? Versus
So do you find that people who are approaching intermittent fasting from a fat loss perspective because they want to change their body composition, maybe they are overweight, do you find that's a less stressful approach for them ultimately in terms of the stress on their body? Or
you mean using the intermittent fasting? Yeah, I think because it's like I said, it's so easy to do. It's yes or no, right? So it's not, it's far easier to follow because the rules are a lot simpler. It's not like, well, I can have my carbs now, or I can, and wait, is it time to, wait, I'm not supposed to.
And how many?
Yeah, this is like, yes or no. Can I eat? No. What time? It's that simple.
Sounds scary to somebody initially.
It
but
does.
Yeah,
but,
less choice can be a good thing sometimes too.
It does, yeah, because, like I said, when you're like waiting in a Starbucks line, you don't do that sort of mental math with your diet.
How many
it's like,
cake pops?
If I just had one cake pop, let's see, that's how many calories, how many carbs. If I don't have rice with my dinner, and then you don't have to do any of that. Just no, I can't,
On or off.
Yeah, it literally.
But
but again, it's the type of person you are.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? If you need to have food, free will, anytime, if you need that.
Right.
Then
Yeah,
it's
you
not
put it
the
before we started
strategy.
recording. You put it really well. It's what you
right.
eat versus when you eat. Right.
Yeah. So
Which
right.
sort
with
of person
intermittent
are
fasting,
you?
it's you can't eat when you want. You can't, but you can pretty much eat what you want. Or you can eat when you want, but you can't eat what you want. So those are the two main diet strategies.
But now I did hear you definitely say earlier that the first meal matters.
The first meal does matter. I mean, for someone who's more in, if you really look, as long as you do the 16 and 8, as long as you stick to those rules, I wouldn't worry for the average person. However, if you really truly want to maximize your results, then I would suggest sticking with a high protein, low carb meal as your first meal. And then maybe an hour or so after, start including carbs.
And in terms of scheduling training, do you think it is best to train in a fed
Best to
state?
train in a fed state. It's always best to train in, especially if you're interested in muscle mass and performance. If your goal, if you're just an average person who just wants to maximize fat loss, it doesn't matter when you train.
Right.
If you want to maximize your performance and the results you get, train when you're fed.
So you can do your fasted cardio, but expect it to suck, basically.
Yeah, well, do you want to really talk about fasted
Right.
cardio? And what the research shows on fasted cardio is pretty debatable because, what we used to think is that, you burn more fat during the exercise fasted. It's true. You do. But what happens the rest of the day? That's what nobody looked at.
Right.
So we were all telling people fasted cardio is the best way because you burn more fat, right? That makes sense. However, it doesn't lead to better fat loss in the long run. So why is that? Well, we started looking at what's going on the rest of the day. The more fat you burn during your workout, the less fat you burn the rest of the day. The less fat you burn during your workout, the more fat you burn the rest of the day. Do you work out more or do you have the rest of the day more?
Right.
Right? How much time is your workout and how much time is the rest of the day? So you want to be maximizing fat burning during the rest of the day, not during the workout. What does that? High intensity interval training.
Yep.
What does high intensity interval training burn? Carbs, all carbs during the workout, but the rest of the day you're burning fat like a madman. That's how it works. So fasted cardio, what we used to think is it's a snapshot. We had a snapshot of what's going on acutely, and then we make projections. Oh, well, that means you're going to lose more fat because you burnt more during the workout. Yes, if you also burn more the rest of the day. But guess what? You don't burn more the rest of the day because you burned more during the workout.
Okay, so then if somebody is trying to schedule their cardio,
I don't recommend fasted cardio for the average. If you're like me at like 4% and you're like, you know what? I just have this one spot that I'm trying to get. Fasted cardio might work for you then.
But
because that's when
somebody
you're
who's already
really
in
trying to
fasting.
get rid of every little bit of fat.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's when if you're at 12% body fat, it's not going to make a difference if you do your cardio fasted or if you do your cardio after McDonald's. Literally, it doesn't.
But we're talking about somebody who's fasted versus somebody who's doing intermittent fasting as well. Though, like it seems like once you are actually you've adapted to that intermittent fasting protocol. Maybe you have a little bit more laxity there. Like, I could certainly train fasted if I wanted to. And
I work out. I mean, I stay active all day.
Okay,
all day, and that's one of my other messages is what is a workout? We've become so sedentary that things that we normally do all day, walking, lifting, moving, picking things up, we have to condense into an hour because we sit on our butts all day. Right? That's not how we don't exercise. We're not made to sit around and then go, I'm going to run like hell for an hour.
The battle. Yeah.
Now I'm going to sit down the rest of the day. And even the research on television watching shows that even if you lift an hour, you work out an hour a day, if you sit for, don't quote me on the actual hours, more than 3 hours a week in front of the television, the benefits of the workout are pretty much gone.
I remember when that came out, it was kind of a mind blower, but it made perfect sense. Yeah.
You can't sit. You can't be sitting all day. We're not made to be sedentary. So I'm active all day, even when I'm fasted. I might go for a hike in the middle of the day, fasted. I'm not going to go to the gym and train a full. I might if that's the only time I can. If I know this is my only block of where I'll train fasted if I have to. It's not ideal, but again, it's not. When you're fasted and you're used to intermittent fasting and you exercise, it's not like, oh my God, it's so it's normal. You know what I mean? It's
sure. I remember Dom DiAgostino, he set the record for the most weight lifted in an hour, and he was 7 days fasted at the time when he did it. Wow. All he did was squats for an hour straight. There's a video of it online. It's terrifying. Wow. But he's a freak too.
Oh, I know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so then are you also that guy who parks in the furthest parking spot away from the...
Yeah, so...
I'm that guy currently.
Takes the stairs.
I
Mine's
do
right
videos.
across from yours. Yeah.
I'll do videos on, on my social media. Parking, like, the last spot, taking the stairs. Don't use the, escalator or elevator.
Just that incidental stuff. It does. Yep. You find it does really add up over time.
Without a doubt, because that's the type of activity that's most important. That staying active all day, it's just finding the ways to stay active. In addition to you're still going to do your workout,
right?
But in addition to the workout, you still need to stay active.